bought the garden because I depended on Uncle Carl to give me tomatoes and everything he had. That was easy gardening, just go down to Carl's.
Well, today Joe and I are talking to Roy and Betty,
Elizabeth and Betty, yeah.
Branneky, and thanks for having us over. And how long have you lived here in this present house?
18
years.
And where did you live before this?
At 4427 Bondfields in Carrollton.
Oh, okay.
We were there 31 years.
So were you there when Carrollton first started to be developed?
Not really.
Not really.
Not
no.
at first, no. We were,
But we were there when they bought us out.
and before that, we lived on Raymond Avenue. We've never lived 5 miles from where we started.
Well, let me ask you, Roy, we'll start with you. Where did you grow up as a young boy?
Well, it was, I guess, not there anymore now. Well, my grandparents had, where the Paul Hospital is now, I mean.
Oh.
That was part of their farm. And then across the old highway there, it was,
Where Joe's from now.
yeah.
Across Old Highway 40, you mean? Or across 270?
No, right down below 270 there. I guess.
The Rock Road.
At St. Charles Rock Road.
Near Westlake?
Yeah.
Yeah, Westlake is, that's where my grandparents' farm come, we're across the street like from where Westlake
Okay.
used to be.
Well, I'd like to talk to you more about Westlake because that seems to be an interesting topic, and we actually interviewed a man that worked there in the summer once, and he gave us a little information. So we'll come back to that. So actually you were born and lived here in Bridgeton forever.
Right.
And where did you go to school? When you were a young boy, where did you go to school?
Junction School.
Aha. And where was Junction School?
It was pretty close to where McKelvey comes into the Rock Road there now, a little bit west of there. But and then my uncle had a big vineyard across the street, and it was pretty much farmland all around there.
Was Junction School, like what, how many grades did it have, do you remember?
Had 8 grades.
Yep.
When I graduated, we had 7 in the school, in the whole school.
7 what?
7 children.
7 children.
I was the only one to graduate.
From where?
From Junction.
Oh my goodness.
We didn't have enough to put on our play. We had some people from her school come over to.
And what was Betty's school?
I went to Garrett School.
And where was Garrett?
Garrett is still Hazelwood.
Oh, okay.
At that time, it was on the corner of Mobottom and Dunn Road.
So, Betty, getting over to you now, were you born and raised,
Oh, yes.
grew up, where?
On Dunn Road, I am a Dunn.
Is that your last name?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
That my was named for my grandfather who came from Ireland.
Oh,
But at that time, we were more considered Florissant. Yeah, our post office was Florissant and everything. We met in high school. when
What
we
high
went to
school was-
Pattonville High School.
you both went to Pattonville High School?
Yes.
So, but you had to come over a little ways if you live.
Well, Dunn Road originally was only from Butts Lane to Missouri Bottom. Nowadays, it's gone out to Chain of Rocks. My grandfather would be amazed. And so, that was Pattonville School District,
Oh.
where I was and me and.
I took her to the sophomore picnic at Westlake Park, amusement park, and we haven't been separated since.
Wow. Wow.
So we've been a long time in this area. We never got to go in.
Are you two the same age?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. She's 9 months younger than I am.
Well, let's get back to Roy. Roy, how many were in your family growing up? brothers or sisters? Can you
No.
tell us?
I was an only child.
Really?
Yeah,
I am too.
yeah. Oh, well, that's fine.
Spoiled
And as I
brats.
tell everybody, I turn out perfectly wonderful. So you did not have brothers or sisters?
No.
And what was the name of your mother and father?
Who what?
What was your mother and father's name?
Oh, my mother's maiden name was a banker, B-O-N-K.
Oh, so
Sure,
now
sure.
we're coming
Get the
into that.
connection.
Yeah,
Now, what was your father's name?
Edmund Branneky.
Edwin?
Edwin, yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna write that down.
And she
Edwin?
was- Yeah. And she was Agnes Banker, like, not Carl and Agnes's, you know, two Agneses there.
Oh, okay.
Didn't they, in later years, didn't they call one of them Agnes and the other Aggie to keep them separate?
Yeah, my mom, they called her Aggie most of the time,
Uh-huh.
and then the other one was Aunt Agnes.
And Carl was related to you, how?
He was an uncle,
Your mom's brother.
my mom's brother, yeah.
Okay.
There were 11 of them in that family.
Oh. So Carl came from 11,
Yeah,
but you were only one.
yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, but you know Peggy Kilby, right?
Yeah.
About, let's see, in 2000, she lives practically next door to Jenny's sister Lucy out in Defiance.
Yes.
Well, of course, out there next door means
Yes.
about a mile away.
I've been to Peggy's.
It's like a log cabin, isn't it?
Yes.
I've never been
Her
inside.
son Tim redid that, yeah.
In 2004, she gave me a copy of a computer database of the relationships of all the Branneky family.
Yeah.
So that'll help
I did
us.
that too.
That'll help us resolve some of those questions. We'll
I think I
use
gave that
as
mine
one of our working documents.
To Wilma Jean, my
Uh-huh.
copy, yeah, of the Branneky's, yeah.
Okay, well, the one I have was last updated in 2004. So,
Now, Ed Banker, that passed away recently, that lives on the farm,
Aunt Agnes.
and Agnes, and Ed was he related to you?
No, she's talking about Edward,
Oh, Edward.
Joe's father-in-law.
Oh, yeah. Ed Banker was my cousin.
Oh, okay, cousin to Ed.
Yeah.
Now, tell them that was double cousins.
yeah.
What? Well, explain, what do you mean, double cousin?
Brother and sister married brother and sister.
Oh, well, now tell me how that worked. Tell me who the participants were.
Well, it was Ed Banker
Ed Banker,
married Alma
Yeah.
Branneky.
Branneky, and Ed Branneky married Agnes Banker. And so their children, of course, are double cousins.
Were they both in the same generation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
Well,
would
you know-
did the weddings happen more or less at the same time, or
Yes, probably. Uh-huh.
they weren't joint or anything?
No, no, but they were each other's favorite sister and brother,
Uh-huh.
Ed and Aggie, yeah.
And so, who was it, let's see, there was a Banker home down where the dentist office is.
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
It's empty.
Yeah.
That was your parents' home, or
His
The other
grandparents.
My grandparents.
Your grandparents,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
And my mother lived there,
okay?
my mom and dad lived there.
Rye's father was Ed Branneky. He came down to farm he went from Bankers where he lived up to farm at the Branneky farm, and Uncle Ed came up from up there and came down
Yeah.
and
They just passed every day.
because the ladies didn't leave home, they stayed home,
The girls stayed home,
and the men had to accommodate them.
You mentioned Wilma Jean a few minutes ago. She was the one that painted the really nice picture of that house
Yeah.
that we have
Yeah.
hanging in the living room.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have maintained a friendship with Willie
Uh-huh.
were good friends,
Yeah.
because her mom and I were such good friends.
Okay, so you said your grandparents were, and the names of your grandparents were what? That lived in the area of the dental clinic?
Oh, that was, my grandparent was Agnes Banker, and my grandfather was August Banker.
You know,
Agnes's.
yes, and, you know, we interviewed Jerry Hahn and his wife Bernice.
Yes,
And you know, there was brothers that married sisters.
right, yeah.
Wally and,
Well, it was a small community. Right?
Yes,
well, sure.
It
Where
was-
did
it
you
was
get
just
to
all-
go,
all
you
a
know?
farm community, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Sure.
So there's-
Well, let me ask Betty, how many, did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I did. I was one of 5 children,
Oh, uh-huh.
and I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Did they stay in this area as they grew up, or did they leave?
No, they're here.
Are they?
Uh-huh. Well, now my brother has died, and my other brother had stayed on Dunn Road until just recently. My sister lives in St. Anne's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we weren't traveling people. Found a place and stayed, but
Well, now, you said you met in high school, because you both went to the same high school?
Oh, yes, yes,
And you went to the Pattonville High School?
right,
Now, was the high school on the Rock Road at this time?
right. Crossing Northwest Plaza.
Uh-huh. Tell me about Northwest Plaza area. What was it like?
It was a dairy farm.
Do you know the name of it?
Adams.
What was it?
Adams.
Adams Dairy, yeah, yeah.
So, did you both graduate from the high school?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Rode a school bus. They had school bus.
Did they?
Yes. And the school bus made 2 trips every morning and 2 at night, because we only had the 1 bus. And they would go
All the way to
our
the
area, and
bottoms.
then they would go the other way.
Dunn Road down to the bottoms and back around, so.
And you said you went to Junction School,
Right,
and you went to which school?
Garrett.
Garrett,
There
okay.
still is a Garrett school, yes.
And, but
Uh-huh.
it's in Hazelwood, right?
Yes, and it's not too far from where it was originally. That building is still there and was made into a little home. Somebody lives in it. And they built, when they built Belle Marie, they built a Garrett school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, yeah, that wasn't Bridgeton, and it never did
Right.
become Bridgeton. Where
Right.
we lived
Mhm.
on Raymond Avenue when it was Pattonville. And then it became, you know, it was annexed by Bridgeton. But when we moved there in 48, it was Pattonville. And you walked up to Branneky's store where there was a post office and got your mail. You did not have it delivered.
Not, we didn't have mail delivery.
So in a few years we did.
Do you remember who the postmaster mistress was?
I remember her, but she was a Ruckert, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Stanley's aunt.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, and Elvira Biedenstein worked in there, and Mary Corcoran, Birch, all worked little part-times and that post office. But you had to go and you had a box and you opened it up and got your mail out. And there was also a little grocery store in Branneky Hardware.
It was grocery, hardware, post office, all in one building.
I think we talked to we interviewed a man that said he worked doing some meat, cutting and
Yeah.
of it. And
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, what was your relationship then to the Brannekys that started Branneky
Well,
Hardware? What was your relationship?
I guess it was the
Great-grandfather.
great-grandfather, I guess, and my dad and them were, like, what would you call them?
Well, they were brothers, great-grandfather and
Yeah.
farmer Brannekys and the store Brannekys, they were brothers. But so Roy really is about 3rd cousins.
Yeah.
To who they're
Third cousins. yeah.
first cousins 3 times removed or whatever.
And you never did work or were involved at the store in
No.
any way?
No,
That kind of surprises
But
me.
now our daughter does. You know, Heidi works at Branneky's.
Well, let's talk about the two of you. When were you married? When?
When, in 48, I guess, yeah,
Where were you married?
at St. Mary's, which is not there either.
Yes. And you know, this is why it's important for us to talk and you get things down on paper because things change. And
Yeah.
places that were really pillars of our community aren't there anymore.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, who would have ever thought St. Mary's would be
Mm.
gone, because St. Mary's were there when my grandparents settled, you know, on Dunn Road. My dad was baptized at St. Mary's, you know, so then poof, the airport was gone, just like it never was.
and St. Lawrence as well.
Yes,
And my children went to Carrollton School.
oh,
That's gone also.
yes, Carrollton Oaks, my kids, some went to Carrollton Oaks. They went to Pattonville's too, and,
Well, tell me, how many children now do you have?
oh, are you ready?
I am
Good
ready.
writing, we have 9.
Oh my goodness, 9
The
children.
bankers had 10, Jenny's
Mhm.
had 10 in her family,
So, how many boys?
4.
5 girls, 4 boys.
4 boys and 5 girls.
Scarcely an idiot in the group.
Now, are they all living, all your
Oh,
children?
yes. And I would, well, there's one that lives in Darden and one in New Melly. The rest live in Bridgeton.
Oh, how nice.
You'd
Well,
think
what
that's
are their names? Tell me the boys' names.
Well, my oldest son is Stephen,
Okay.
and then we call him Rocky, but he's Bry the third. No, he's Bry
He's junior.
Junior, and then his son is the third. Yeah, we have that contingency too. Oh, we're very traditional. Then I have Tom that lives on Raymond, and Jim lives on Taplin. And then Heidi lives on Raymond. And I have 2 daughters that live on Natural Bridge.
What are their names?
Gettemeyers.
Oh.
Melissa and Kathy
They're
live
right,
next door to each other on Natural Bridge.
right across from the police station and
Used to be.
yeah.
Will you say both their last names are Gettemeier?
Yes, they were married to brothers.
Oh, here we go.
It's really not incest.
Here we are, married brothers. Oh,
But my one son-in-law is deceased, he died, and Richard did, and Melissa and Dennis are divorced, so, but they're still Gettemeier names, yeah.
you know, my daughter had Mrs. Gettemeier as a teacher.
Suzanne,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
That would have been their brother's wife, Bill. Bill was Richard and
Bill.
Dennis's brother, yeah. And there was a lot of Gettemeyers too, and they lived on Natural Bridge.
All right, so I have Heidi, Melissa, Kathy, and apparently there's 2 more.
Yes, Madeline lives in Darden Prairie.
What's the name?
Madeline,
That's cute. Madeline.
How do you spell that, Matt?
Madeline,
Okay.
kind of French. And Nancy lives in New Melly.
All right, now out of all these, how many grandchildren do you have?
18.
Oh my
That's
God.
not a lot.
I can't even count them.
But we also now have 11 great-grandkids.
Oh, wow.
So you're not gonna run out of grandkids.
No. Great grands. All right, so just kind of going back over, you're the Branneky, but you didn't have any connection with the store.
No,
But presently, you have one daughter that actually works there,
right,
Heidi.
yeah.
And I know from my experience and interviewing Mrs. Telscher that Heidi worked for her.
Yeah,
Yes.
right from school.
Can you tell us the story of how she came to work for Mrs. Telsher?
Well, Telters were our neighbors.
Oh.
They lived on Gist Road, and their daughter and Heidi were little girls playing together. And then Heidi started helping Kathleen over at her house, sorting the tickets at the once a week or something. And then when she was 16, she went into the store to work, and Kathleen said, "We'll try this. We've never had a girl. We've always had boys helping." Well, within 2 weeks, Heidi practically owned the store. And she's been in hardware ever since.
Now, is Heidi married?
Yes, and Heidi's married name is Perkins.
Oh.
She lives on Raymond. Yeah,
And what does her husband do?
he works at DePaul Hospital.
Oh, really?
So it's, nobody goes anywhere.
Except maybe out to New Melly.
Yeah, New Melly, yeah.
Now, let me ask you, Roy, what kind of work did you do, like, after you were, when you were married?
Air conditioning, heating,
Oh, really?
yeah.
But where you started in the filling station.
Oh, yeah. I started, well, that's when I was like 14 years old. I went right there at Natural Bridge and the Rock Road. There was a Phillips station there. And,
Where kind of wedges where McDonald's is?
We're
On
right where Natural Bridge runs into the Rock Road. You drive right across the street and there's a Phillips station there. Regular was 15 cents and Ethel was 17 cents.
You can't go back. You just can't go back.
And he made how much, 70 cents an hour?
70 cents an hour, worked 72 hours a week.
Wow.
For $50.40, so.
It's interesting how we remember those things, isn't it?
Well, I told her if we were to make $100 a week, we'll be set, so.
And did
Excuse me,
you-
Roy, at that time that you were at the Phillips station, was Ed's Shell station close by?
Right, he was, there was Bammy's Inn next door, and then Bert's had a garage there, and then above that was Ed's Shell station there,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So you were a little bit in competition with a family member or not really?
Oh, no.
I think Ed's was a lot of repair, what Rice was filling station, yeah,
Yeah,
truckers and,
yeah, we had a lot of truck stop, you know, do, change flat tires, put chains on in the winter and all that stuff, you know, so it was.
Also, while he was still in school though, he worked at Westlake Park
Yeah.
and he worked at Mammy's Inn.
Well, tell us about Westlake Park because I never had any experience going there or knowing anything about it.
Well, they had a walkathon there every year, and,
Do you know what that is?
No,
Okay.
no.
well, supposedly they would go till they drop, you know. Well,
Dance.
of course, when everybody's gone, they would go back in the back, and I'd go over and ice up the coolers over there, and then for the beer coolers and soda and that, and clean up while I was also working at the station there. But that was just like an hour every day or two, and then of course, as soon as reporters or somebody would come by, why they'd be alerted and they'd get up on the floor and
Oh, so they were cheating, in other words.
yeah,
Dancing.
it was just a.
It was kind of a thing that went to different areas. They'd have a walkathon at this park or that park.
Why do they call it walkathon? Was it dancing?
Yes,
No,
it was
well,
a dance
They,
hall. And they had couples, you know.
Was it like outdoor? Was it kind of like a pavilion or was it
no,
an indoor?
It was a big ballroom.
Oh, so it's like an indoor.
Inside, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They used to draw good crowds there, you know. and-
Did they have live music?
I think I can't remember.
Just on weekends, maybe, or
Just on
something.
weekends they
Yeah,
had
it wasn't
live,
all the
yeah,
time.
Yeah.
They also had a roller skating rink there,
Really, at Westlake?
a scenic railway, you know, that,
Pony rides.
yeah, merry-go-round, tumble bugs. Was there a swimming pool there too, wasn't there?
And of course, the roller
Yes.
coaster was a big thing, you know, that was,
That's what you referred to as the scenic railway.
That's its
Yeah.
name.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And the fun house.
And the
Yeah.
fun house,
Fun house,
oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that was,
They had
it was,
shooting matches and all, you know, had all kinds of.
Shooting matches, what do you mean?
Targets net and for prizes, you know, and it was like a regular carnival atmosphere in there. It bumper cars.
it was rival to the Highlands in
Yes.
St. Louis.
Yes, I remember that vaguely.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
Uh-huh. Well, I went to Highlands, but it closed up, I think, when I was pretty young. I remember only going there one time.
Mhm.
They had every year for about 4 or 5 years here, they had a fella that went up in a balloon and he ascended from the park, and then when he got up to like 300 or 400 feet, he'd take and jump out with a parachute, but he had 3 parachutes, and he'd jump out the parachute and he'd discard one, and then the second one he'd discard, and of course he landed with the third one. So they told me that if I could get those parachutes, they'd give me $1 a piece for them. I always procured those. They were afraid somebody was gonna steal them or
So
something.
he would reuse them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but they needed a retriever.
Yeah, need a retriever, and that was our farm there. They always landed on my farm. You know?
Oh, oh.
Uh,
We've always worked.
And what about you, Betty? Did you work while you were in high school?
No, no. I was the youngest of the 3 girls at home. And so I was kind of sheltered.
Oh,
Yeah, so after we got married, I didn't work at all. I had children, you know, so I never went back to work. Just little things once in a while,
mm-hmm.
but I hear geese.
Yeah.
Geese are going over. So, we have this creek here, if you can see, that goes through our property.
Mm-hmm.
And every year, we have a pair of ducks that comes back to this creek and nests. So we watch, waiting for them. They'll probably be here by the end of the month.
Really? That's nice. How much land do you have here?
1 acre.
I see. And so tell me, are you involved in Bridgeton presently in any of the,
No.
Nothing really, no.
but in the past you say you have
We
been?
were on the Historical Society, and I'm really not a meeting person.
She's too busy with kids.
So, and I thought there was a lot, I sounded like a traitor, a lot of work that was redone and no progress forward.
Unfortunately.
Yes,
Yes,
you know,
unfortunately.
and I think, oh, I got better stuff to do than this. But when Carl and Agnes were in that, we did a lot, you know, we really did. We had Gentry Fair then.
Right,
That was a
I
big
remember that.
That was a big thing, and Roy and I usually ran the concession, you know, the food part of it. We did that for years.
I remember going to that. In fact, my daughter and son were in grade school, Carrollton, and they had a contest the one year to write a paper on something, and my daughter wrote a paper and she got a 3rd place award or something. And so, you know, I
Yeah,
remember.
it was a fun thing. It was a big fun thing.
Yes, it was, and
Are you familiar with Larry Essman?
yes.
Yes, yeah, we still are friends with Larry Essman, and he was in at that time, and he did a lot of historical work, he did. And still is interested, I know.
Well, Julius Telscher was also, is that correct?
Yes.
And your Uncle Carl, is that
Doris.
correct?
Doris Berrezzini.
Well,
was
would
a
you
big
tell
name.
us about Doris Berrezzini? Because she's not here to interview, is she?
No, she died.
So can you tell us anything about her?
Oh, she was just a ball of fire. I mean, she was so interested, and she did so much, you know, she really, and I'm wondering where all her papers are, because she was the She was president
She
when
kept
I
all
was
the
vice
records.
president. She kept all that. I don't know where they went. She had,
It could be in filing cabinets. We have a few filing
oh,
cabinets
yes.
at the Payne Gentry house, and,
Yeah, might
know.
be, yeah.
Yeah.
they could be in there. Sometimes when you go through some of that stuff, it starts to get up into your, this is, honest to God, this is the truth, that sometimes it's not good to be in with all that paperwork.
I know.
It can affect your
Yeah.
breathing.
I remember when we bought some of those filing cabinets, when we were in the society. And we did nice things. They had a cocktail party and Gentry Fair, and, you know, Doris was really a mainstay. She was in really before Roy and I. It was Doris and Uncle Carl and Walter West. He was a big,
I don't know.
he did a lot of those picture taking. That was Walt West's work. And Charlie Branneky, that was at the store at that time. He was one of the founders. So. and
So
that
where
was
did the Gentry Fair take place? Was it
At
near the house?
Gentry. At Gentry there.
Was that before the community center was
Yes,
built?
but it was on the grounds around the old house.
Mhm.
And they had booths.
Did they change the topology of that piece of ground very much when they built the?
Not really, but they did, you know, where the drive is now, that was still part of the grounds.
Uh-huh.
And of course, that was, Mrs. Gentry was still alive then. And sometimes we went to her house on Westmoreland.
Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh. And she was very interested. And her daughter Elizabeth, yeah.
Yes, Elizabeth is living there now,
Yeah.
and we have been to her house a few times.
Yeah.
And she can tell some wonderful stories about coming out and living there in the summers at
Yes.
the Payne Gentry house.
Yes. And always was a big booster, you know, of it. So it was an interesting time. And I wish there were more buildings they would have kept or done. You know.
It all takes money,
Yeah.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yes, yeah,
And
and interest.
nothing was incorporated at that time. It was just all, there was, you know, just to go by mail route, you know.
Yeah, and so you didn't know that this would be an important building, or how much it would take to redo it, you know. Some old houses over on Gist Road, and everything. Yeah, it's a shame, on.
It is,
Yeah,
because they don't bring them back.
we are a throwaway nation. Yeah.
Where we lived down there, it started out being St. Louis County, then it went to Anglin, which was over by the airport.
Robertson,
Robertson, Florissant.
yeah, we have a lot of names.
Yeah, it's just whatever mail route they decided to call it, you know, so they just incorporated it.
So
and made
could
it
I
pretty.
give you some iced tea or something?
Not right now. Just tell me, maybe when your children were growing up, where did you live?
We lived on Raymond Avenue,
Which is just around the corner from here, correct?
yes. And the house we lived in is gone. My
Oh.
son Tom tore that house down and built the house next door to Heidi. Do you know where Heidi lives? On the corner of Raymond and Oak,
Raymond and Oak.
yeah. And so Tom lives there. That's where we lived, and then we moved to Carrollton. And my kids had started, the older ones, there's a big difference. My daughter is 18 years older than my youngest son, so we went to you know, it started at Pattonville grade school,
Which was where?
which was on Phoebe Road where the credit union is.
Thank you, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Basically, that building,
That
the
building,
credit union is now, started as,
Pattonville. But even before it was a littler school directly across the street. When Madeline started to kindergarten, that's when they were building the bigger house, the bigger one there. So they went there, and then when we moved to Carrollton, we went to Carrollton School. And then they built Carrollton Oaks, which was closer to me. Then they went to Carrollton folks.
And all your children went to Pattonville High School?
No, not all of them. My younger boys went to CBC.
Oh, okay.
And, but a little note, when we were in high school, of course, we only had 30-some kids. And Roy was class president.
Oh, thank you for sharing that.
So a few years ago, my youngest grandson, who is Rocky's son, Cody was running for Mr. Pattonville, they called it, Mr. PHS, and he said, the thing that got him elected, I think, he said, well, I have to be, it's tradition, my grandpa was class president in 47.
Oh,
So that's a lot
yeah.
of Brannekys, because all four of Rocky's kids went there, and Tom's son, yeah. So a lot of Brannekys through, but now we don't have anybody left there. We're done there. So that was a lot.
Tell her how we retrieved our class picture.
Well, we have our class picture from Pattonville, from our senior year,
And what year was that?
47.
47.
And they tore that building down, of course, and have that new building there on the Rock Road, the Learning Center.
Yes,
Yeah. And so it was tradition in those days to have your class picture hanging in the hall with snapshots of each member, which wouldn't be much, not compared to 500,
Right.
like they had, and they were just putting them in the dumpster.
Oh,
And it's
no.
one of the secretaries that, I can't stand that, she took an armful, and she happened to know my daughter Nancy, and knew Melly, and said, I think Nancy was a Branneky, so she brought us that picture, so.
Oh, can you imagine
Yeah,
just
it was-
throwing away?
All that history was, down, so
Mm.
it's, things come around.
Now, the community center wasn't that also in that school building before it became the credit union, before the present community center?
Yeah, we used it. Yeah, it was empty of kids then, and I don't know why, in their greater knowledge, I guess, they sold that building, and then they could have used it again, and when population really grew, but now I guess it's down enough. But, yeah, we went to meetings, we had historical meetings in that building, but, progress. What?
Do you ever go up to the community center now for any of the events, any of the senior events? Do you take part in any of those?
We don't belong to anything there. I did go to the swimming stuff, and I go there sometimes.
Joe swims up there.
Do you?
Yeah, Jenny and I go up there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning.
And like how early, Joe?
9 o'clock,
9?
usually 9 to 10.
And
It's
I
really
teach
nice.
yoga on Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning there.
You're the yoga teacher?
Yes, in the morning, yes.
I did not know. Well, my 2 daughter-in-laws were going, but they went at night.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, I
Tammy
do-
and Valerie,
Yes, I do it in the morning, and I'm lucky that my schedule allows me to be flexible to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we really have a nice community center, and when I'm there for yoga or there for meetings of historical commission, I never, forget to marvel at how much that building is being used.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we have a lot of good assets, parks and trash pickup.
Yeah.
And get our Bridgeton tax back, seniors do. So it's a good, we have no intention of ever leaving this community. No.
Well, this is a beautiful house. Tell us about your house. Was it built? Did you have it designed? Or tell us about the beginnings of this house.
Well, this was built by Bridgeton.
Can you kind of pan the house with your camera?
We'll take some stills.
Yeah. Well, this was,
And take a picture of them with your camera.
Tell her about the story of our architect.
well, I will get to that. But this was built by a Bridgeton resident at that time, John Null, who is something to Joe.
Yeah, he's related to Helen.
Yeah, through
Yes.
his
Helen's
mother-in-law, yeah. And when we found out we had to move from Carrollton, which we stayed quite a while. We weren't among the first to leave Carrollton. We were among, about middle ways, I guess.
But you were in the buyout.
We were in the buyout, and we looked all over Hillsborough, St. Charles, everywhere, and kept coming back to Bridgeton, and I saw a sign on the street that it had been sold 3 acres. And finally someone told me, well, that's John Null's. I said, well, I know John Null. And I talked to him, and he said, yeah, I have 3 acres. He said, one is undesirable with a creek. I said, that's the one I want. And so that's how that worked out. So John, then at that time, was working down at Beautiful Savior at the church. That was his church, and their architect was this lady. And so he sent us to her. I had seen this picture in a magazine, but not the plans. So
You saw a picture in a magazine of a house you liked.
Uh-huh.
So you took that to him.
It was a lady, a lady architect. And so I said, well, I want this and this, and a lot of windows. Why did I say that? I don't know.
Because now you know.
I love windows, and now it's a lot of washing.
Yes.
But we had just a wonderful, John Null was wonderful, and Roy did a lot, and we had son-in-laws that did the drywall, and my son is an electrician, so it was a joint effort. And
How long did it take to build the house?
oh, forever. 9 months.
Well, you know,
But it's all custom, it's not. So, and the poor architect, she was from South St. Louis, and she was a victim of the South Side rapist.
No, kidding.
Oh, that's a terrible story.
Oh, my.
And yes,
Yeah.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
we built this in '92, we started.
Yeah.
92, I guess.
92, I guess it was,
Yeah, something started on it. And, but she did well, she overcame it. She was a strong, strong lady, but,
What
I
was
think
her
he's-
name? Do you remember?
the same as,
Gosh,
Lloyd was her last name, wasn't it? Like Lloyd Wright?
Yeah.
Yeah, And, she had an office in Brentwood.
Okay.
You mentioned John Null. Did you know his parents very well?
Oh, yeah.
Archie and
Mhm.
Wanda,
And Wanda,
yeah,
uh-huh.
They lived up on Branneky Lane.
They lived on Branneky Lane, but our farm was joining their
Mhm,
ground there.
right.
Yeah.
And do you remember their store on Fifi?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
when
yeah.
Edward was there,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And before that,
Yes.
My
the Nulls,
cousin- my
Archie
cousin.
ran
Bought that, and.
That was Edward.
Yeah, Edward, and then I used to work there on Saturdays and Sundays. I'd come back from church and go there and take care of the cash register and help bag and that for, I think I did it for about a year
Yeah.
or two, yeah.
Were you ever in the service, Roy?
No.
No, I was exempt.
We already were married and had children.
I had
and
children
That was
and
a
that.
draft exemption. Yes, a lot of our classmates were.
Yeah.
We were the first ones married out of that group.
Were any of your children in service?
Yes, my oldest
Yeah,
son. He
Stephen.
was in Vietnam time, but he was in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. He never went to Vietnam. And then the younger boys are younger, I had a bunch of girls before I had those 3 last boys. But Archie, had built a house for Roy's mom and dad.
Yeah.
And so then his son built this house for us.
Where was that house?
It was down,
Below Westlake Park down
yeah,
there.
right next door to the old home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Roy's mother lived, and dad lived there for some time,
Yeah.
and then they moved. But yeah, that was.
You
yeah,
say
they were-
next to the old home, but what,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure I know what you mean by that.
Just where the dentist office is.
Yeah.
Oh, on that
Yeah.
street, okay. was thinking of the New Rock Road.
No,
Yeah,
that's where
the
we were.
the old farmhouse was a two-story,
Uh-huh.
and then of course it had all that ground around there, so.
Roy's mother had bought an acre from
Yeah,
Grandpa.
my mom bought an acre from Grandma, and so they built a house there.
Uh-huh.
So that was two
John.
Null houses. Yeah, we saw Null when Gary died.
Yeah.
We saw John there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah,
Yes, that was. I just really liked Gary. We had a mutual bird society.
Yeah.
He'd call me and tell me what birds he was looking at his house. Yeah, good guy. He was a good guy.
Gary liked this plan, so he took it and.
Yeah.
John built his house too.
Without the half a story on top.
Yeah,
It was just one.
he didn't put it upstairs, he just got
Yeah.
the basics.
And where is his house?
Marthasville.
Oh, okay.
Or, yeah, I guess that's
We-
Marthasville, isn't it?
Yeah, we were at Mark and Mary Ann's last week,
Oh,
and it's on their same street, I believe, because
Yeah.
Gary found
yeah.
the
Yeah,
place for Mark.
17 acres, I
Yeah.
think Gary had, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we were up there, took Aunt Virginia
Yeah.
one time, and, yeah, Gary and Zip used to come here and say, now, what'd you do here? And
And who is Gary?
Gary is another cousin.
He's first cousin of Jenny on her dad's side.
Okay.
He was a banker.
It's very hard, but,
Yeah, it's loud.
is this the original way that though they were interrelated by these two marrying?
Yes, brother and sister, brother and sister.
And then farther down the line, did any of them marry, do you know? Any cousins
No,
or
no,
anything?
no. I think the nearest thing is Jeff Branneky from the store is married to one of Roy's cousins. Now, they're not related, but they're both related to Roy, a Coolman.
We thought there was a little incest there for a while.
Yeah, I said, I don't know, Jackson, I don't know if you can date her.
I have to get out the books.
Yeah, see how they're connected, but they were just really related to Roy. And
Well, this is a beautiful house, and why did you want the ground with the creek on it? What kind of
I'm kind of
interested you in
I'm a
this?
country girl. I don't like to be in a subdivision.
Okay.
And I have, you know, I was raised on a farm, so.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of blossoms out there in not too many weeks from now, I guess.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll have it. And it's a lot of upkeep, a lot of upkeep, you know.
Tell us what we had on the creek that one time.
We had a big blue heron standing in the creek looking at me out the window.
Did they come down there in those lagoons in our city? Do we have the herons
We
down there?
have, but
Yeah.
it's rare to see a blue one.
Oh.
And we have raccoons that Roy feeds.
We have, I put bread out there, it's about 6 or 8 loaves every night, and ain't another speck left there. We had as many as 10 at one time, so.
And we've seen, you know, fox. I've got a red fox that comes through in the mornings.
They had a deer come to the window here with a.
Yeah, so it's a little pocket of, but poor things, where can they go? You know, they're being driven out of everywhere.
Mhm.
She had a bad leg, she got hit by a car, I guess, that deer.
That deer, yeah, she
Yeah.
died. That's what,
We called the animal up here and, what's your name, Chris?
Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
That's another thing with the animal control girl is our friend.
The Bridgeton Animal
Yeah,
Control?
yeah,
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, yeah. She
Mhm.
went to school
And
with
she,
me.
she,
Oh.
she pulled up with the police car, the deer was standing here with on the leg up, and as soon as she seen that car, she knew what it was, so that deer just went around the fence and
On
took
3
off
legs,
on 3
yeah.
legs.
They're smart, yeah. So it's interesting. I like to see nature, you know. And the water is spring water, but it's also storm water. We have 2 different outlets.
It runs all year round, it's fed by 5 springs.
This used to be the watering spot for this neighborhood. They came here to get their water
Really?
out of the springs. We knew the new Roths and people that lived down here.
We got a snapping turtle on the other side, it's about that big around, he's about
Yeah.
60, 70 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, they used to see him down here.
I seen him when I was going to high school.
Oh, how do you know it's the same guy? It's
Well, they
not
must get
Offspring.
bigger, they live 100 years
Yeah.
or so, yeah, big guys.
Where do they go during the winter? How do they make it through the
I
winter?
guess
Down
they
into
just
the
hunker
mud.
down there, you know.
Yeah,
I,
they're down flat.
I had a dog walking over there and he didn't even notice it. He was down the bottom underneath the water about 2 foot and I could see him, you know, and all of a sudden he just started crawling out of there, so.
So it's, you know, it's a little pocket in the middle of a community.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and then there's nobody across from you, is there?
No, and then the same man owns that up from me, and poor things, they don't know any better.
They got a mess over there.
Yeah. So
They come and go.
Love and live,
come and go
live
in
and
the
let
night.
although it was their dog that broke my leg.
Their dog had something to do with your accident.
Yes, the dog ran into my leg and broke my leg.
Wow.
Yes,
When did that happen? When was
2
that?
years ago. I went out to get the paper and the dog saw me and she just wanted to play. She,
Uh-huh.
you know, just a big old,
Tell her what the ambulance man said to you.
oh. I was in so misery, you know, and I said, oh guys, I'm not a good patient. They said, that's okay, we're not good paramedics. That was Pattonville Fire Department.
That was cute.
Yeah, I loved them, they were so kind.
That was fun.
But, you know, stuff happens.
Yes.
Yes, wasn't a good day.
Were you ever involved in the Bridge before the July parade? I know,
Yeah, 1 year we were,
1 year we were on the float or something.
yeah, we were grand marshals.
I thought maybe it was just occurring to me that maybe you
With
were.
Ed Banker and Prutz, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I had remembered
In
something
fact,
about
I have
that.
that picture, yeah, I think right in there.
Oh, maybe we can look at that.
Look in that top drawer, right? Oh, yeah,
Oh, we can do that later, that's okay.
yeah, where you, yeah,
Just-
don't
just
move.
stay
Yeah,
put.
don't move, picture in the,
I
in the
got
picture.
you.
So, I don't know, that's a couple of years ago.
But I thought I kind of
And
remembered that.
Conrad had just, when he was cleaning out his office, he sent a picture of it, yeah. So, when we're getting ready for another election,
Yes.
and what about Barb Abrams?
I don't suppose she's running right
So
now.
There's two
Two
gentlemen.
men, yeah, two men, but then some man came along
Yeah.
from Ward 4 and I don't know who's not running or if he's running against someone.
Well, there's Bob Satellis in Ward
No,
4,
no,
or is that
Barb
Ward 1?
Abrams,
Oh, okay, that's Ward 1 then.
we're 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the chiropractor from, where does he live? And it said he'd be back to talk, and I thought, oh, I don't know who's not running, or if he's running against, I can't think the other woman is that Joni, or
Joni Norris?
is she Ward 4?
Could be.
Could be.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
I hadn't talked to Barb.
Joe and I are what, Ward 3?
Two.
2, sorry.
And we were at the event at the library
Oh, were you?
last week.
And
Judy
we're-
was there too.
Yes, very interesting. I enjoyed it immensely. It's the first time I'd ever experienced something like that. And it was handled by the ladies, the Women League voters.
Uh-huh.
And I thought they did it very well organized and no rabble rousing. And a few of the opponents were taking pot shots at Mayor Bowers. But he handled that fairly well.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
it's
Oh,
actually
he has had enough experience.
Yeah, right.
But you know, I thought it was handled very well, everything was timed, so the people knew they couldn't just monopolize the
Yeah.
evening and ramble on. They had timekeepers that held up signs when it was getting to be, time.
Oh,
And some of the people would stop in mid-sentence, and some of them would hurry up and get the rest of their,
Yeah, I saw
thought.
that was
And
going to be there.
so, but
yeah.
I did enjoy it. It was the first time I've said I experienced something like that. And I thought it was great for our
Yeah, we've
community.
never really had that, done like that, no.
Yeah, to see them all on the same, panel, trying to talk about the same issues, their thoughts, any improvements. So, what would you like to tell us before we finish up? What would you like to tell us about how Bridgeton has changed in the years, especially in the early years when you were raising your children?
Well, it was a kinder, gentler age when we moved to, well, even on Layman, and when we moved to Carrollton, the kids could be out after dark and they could go down to the shopping center. You didn't worry one bit. Now I would be afraid. I don't think that's a good thing, and I would like to see some better things come to Bridgeton.
I think I know what you're talking about, but if you would like to, give us an example.
I would like to see a good department store. We have no shopping. If you're not going to Kohl's or Target, you're not going anywhere. And
That's true.
yeah,
You're right.
I'd like to see that. I think we have wonderful parks. We have wonderful. In fact, I just heard the trash men picking up the
Yes.
sticks.
Yes.
That's a wonder. My friends can't believe we have all those nice things.
Yes,
But I don't like to see empty buildings
yes,
going down.
right, that's sad.
Yeah.
It is. I don't like to see places not kept up like they used to be. Of course, you always did have that where people didn't. That's a personal choice. But I think, well, you can see we haven't moved.
Well, we're glad you haven't. Were you gonna add anything, Roy, to your recollection?
No, I think about covered everything, as far as I know.
Well, thank you. We would like to take, why don't you turn that off?
Okay,
We
we're
would like
gonna
to
stop the
take
video,
a few,
okay?
actually, pictures of you. I'll tell you what.